Hi, this is Joe Hage. I have the privilege of leading your medical devices group, which, as of this recording, has 349,000 members worldwide. And one of the reasons we've grown so large is we have members like Dave and Florence. They are members of my medical device advisory board. They are my go-to people for matters relating to M&A, enterprise value, and distribution. Dave and Florence, you there?
We are. Hello, everyone.
All right.
Good afternoon.
The floor is yours. I'll put myself on mute, and I'll see you at the end. Have a good show.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you for hosting us. Hello, everyone, wherever you may be, U.S., Europe, Asia, any part of the world. We are here today to talk about how to improve enterprise value. And we're going to walk you through in the next 45 or 50 minutes or so through our process on how to do just that. So as Joe mentioned, we are part of the medical device group and have been for quite some time. It's a great group, and glad that you're all part of it. It's great to see it grow exponentially over the years. Wonderful. We are part of MedWorld Advisors. My name is Florence Joffroy-Black, and I am the CEO and President of MedWorld Advisors, and I'm joined today by Sheppard, who is Principal and COO of MedWorld Advisors. So to give you a little bit of background of what we do, we are an international mergers and acquisition advisory firm. We are headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts, but we are truly a global entity. We actually have partners around the world in Hong Kong, in Germany, China, Switzerland, Netherlands, India, UK, Hong Kong, Israel, Singapore, Canada, just basically all around the world. We are fairly unique in the fact that we focus on small to mid-sized companies as well as emerging technology companies, just because they, require very unique strategic relationships in order to grow. And we're dedicated to the medtech, med device, digital health, biotech, biomed, life science space. So we do not do anything but medical. This is what we know. This is where we all had our career. We're going to talk about this in a second. And this is truly what we do. I should mention the fact that what we look at for small to mid-sized companies, again, outside of emerging technology, is a company that is anywhere between the size of $5 million to $200 million, just to give you an idea of scope. We are a very seasoned team of people. As I mentioned, there are a lot of us that are taking part of MedWorld Advisors, and between all of us, we are, I think we're counting over 100 years of industry relationships and experience amongst ourselves. So a very experienced team to work with. With regards to my background, I have an international background, and some of you may have noticed a little bit of an accent. I'm actually French, born and raised in Paris, and I understand we have a French person on board, Sarah. And I came to the United States in my early 20s and never left. But my entire career has been in global environments in marketing, and I have been in the medical device field for over 20 years now. I have always been in a strategic position, looking at strategic roadmap, product introduction, as well as mergers and acquisitions for large and small companies. I have worked for companies, German companies, U.S. companies, Israeli companies, just to name a few, and global is pretty much what I do and what I know. So, Dave, do you want to give the audience a little bit of your background?
Yeah, thank you, Florence. Good day, everyone. And I might also mention around the advisory board and the other partners that we have. We also have people that have led business groups as large as almost $1 billion, as well as people that have done startups and others that have built and sold mid-market companies. So we have quite a range of talents within our team on a global basis. As far as my background, I've been in the medical industry now for about 30 years. I've been with companies large and small. I participated in some startups. One of them was fortunate enough to become an IPO back in the 1990s. And then I've been with large med tech companies in my background, such as C.R. Bard. I've worked with Tyco back in the day. For those of you listening, if you've been around enough, you probably remember Dennis Kozlowski. and that probably brings back a few humorous stories to most people when I mention that name. But that created quite an interesting marine experience for somebody like myself. It was running global business units, both in terms of operational experience and also in terms of M&A, both what to do and what not to do in some of those situations. Then, as you may know, Tycho became Covidien. I became the Vice President of Strategic Alliances at Covidien. And I ran a global team. I worked with over 100 companies around the world in over 20 different countries. And we did deals, as big as, hundreds of millions with some of the big players like GE, Philips, Siemens, Draeger. And then also we did deals with smaller regional players like Mindray. Well, I have to correct myself. Mindray is not such a regional player anymore. It's number 2 or number 3 patient monitoring company in the world. And then small players in India like Larsen & Toubro, and then small players throughout Europe and Asia and the U.S. From after leaving Covidien, I became general manager of the business group. That was a smaller entity, a mid-market company, and really engaged the team in developing some disruptive technology that actually was by independent research companies were acknowledged as such within 12 to 18 months, and that was a really exciting time. And one of my reasons for leaving the large company was to be involved with entrepreneurs that really had a passion for innovation, as the larger companies seem to have lost their way relative to R&D. Since that role as the general manager, I've been consulting with companies of various sizes, and things have gone really well with that, and kind of led towards doing more M&A than anything else because of the need out there. I kind of saw a gap relative to companies on the other side of the table. When I was in the larger company, we had a BD&L team. Smaller companies can't afford to have a BD&L team, and so we really so what I'm trying to do is try to be that eyes and ears on the other side of the table to help prepare somebody for the big company or bigger company, or even just a private equity investor that might come hit them with all their diligence and their formulas and that sort of thing, so that they're prepared for the experience. And I also just wanted to be involved with people that are developing innovative technology, people that are trying to make a difference in this industry, as Florence and I really share a passion for the industry. So as we move forward in talking about improving enterprise value, there's ways to do it organically, and for people that really want to grow their business, and there's ways to do it for people that would like to, in the future, sell their business, and we'll be talking about both today. So the first topic that we'll be speaking about will be the number of issues of why this is important. Absolutely.
And so I think that it is safe to say, and thank you, Dave, for the introduction, I think it is safe to say that every company is looking to grow its value over time. That's the reason why you're in business, is to grow and have a successful entity. But I think what is really important to remember is that the reason why you want to grow and improve your enterprise value is that ultimately it's going to yield some benefit. One of them would be to be able to reinvest in your company. And as Dave mentioned, it could be from an organic perspective where you are reinvesting in your own company, whether it be in R&D or hiring new talent or creating new partnerships, or whether it is looking at growing through acquisition. One of the things that actually is very active these days, even for mid-market companies, small and mid-market companies, is the fact that they can acquire outside entities. They're not always the ones for sale. They actually can be the ones out there looking to do an acquisition in order to grow. The other reason why it's important to have constant value growth is that it's going to help your investors. A lot of those investors have been with you from the beginning. If you've gone through seed rounds, and if you've gone through, round A, B, and all those things, those investors have stock value. They put their money and their trust in you, and you want to make sure that you show to them the value that you're bringing to their investment that will allow you potentially, if you need it again, to have some of those investors either help you in the future, bring new investors in, or actually invest themselves additionally into your business. It will also allow you to attract better employees, but also retain them. Bringing people on board is not easy. Keeping them is even harder. For some of you, you have very active industries where, talent is being removed and bought out constantly by your competitors. So if you have good, solid growth and you offer good programs for your employees, that is something that will actually tell them that they should stick with you and stay on board. Should you need additional financing, and we've talked about your initial investors, but sometimes you need to increase a line of credit, you need to look for additional funds for one reason or another. Having constant value growth is something that will help you attract better rates for any of the loans that you are looking for. And it's really important because banks definitely are looking at this very closely in order to lend you money. It also will help you have better customer and vendor relationships. A company that can show value growth over time is a good company to either put your trust in as a customer and do potentially contracts long-term, but also as a supplier, they're going to look at you not just as a client, they're going to look at you as a potential partner. If you grow, they grow. And that's really key in negotiating your contracts with them. If you own a family business, one thing that is very important is you've created this business from the ground up, and you might want to leave it to the next generation. You want to show the fact that you've created a very solid base of business, one that can grow successfully over time and give a really solid base to whoever is going to take the business over in your family and grow it from the perspective moving forward. Very important when you're successful and you have good growth over time, you have a huge impact on the community, whether you actually are employing people in the area in which your company seems to be is located, but it's also you can give back to the community. You can sponsor events. You can actually have the community look out for you and help you grow, and that's a very important thing. And then again, the more you grow, the more sustainable your growth happens to be. You will be able to get to a value of your business should you want to sell and get that value back when you decide to actually make a deal. So we have mentioned the fact, and some of you may already have taken the test. We actually are going to talk about this in a second. We've come up with key value drivers, and there are 9 of them that we actually identify, and we will measure them. We're going to show you this in a second. But those key value drivers are the financial performance of your company, growth opportunity, what we refer to, the French comes back up, as the state of independence, cash, recurring revenue, control, customer satisfaction, decentralization, and then what we call the forgotten ones. So the truth is you can look at all of those drivers and you can assess in a qualitative way what you are doing. But the truth truly at the end of the day is in numbers, and we have a system that allows you to measure the way everything that you do with your company impacts all of those key drivers, and it gives you the overall score of where your company happens to be. So this is an example of someone who actually took the test ahead of the webinar, and I chose that one just because this one shows a score of 54. The average score that we had between all the people who took the test is 55, which is not a bad score. The closer you are, though, to the green zone, which is where the 100 is, the closer you will be to getting the value that you see in your business back should you ever decide to sell, or the more stable your company will be with regards to value growth. So the closer you get to the green zone, the better off you are. And we usually say that when you're around 80, you already are entering the safe zone. What is interesting, if you look at this company, although the average score is 54, it shows you that there are some things that this company is doing very well and others that really do need attention. So the ones that they are doing very well are very easy to see, such as customer satisfaction. Obviously, they have a wonderful customer relationship with their customers. However, if you look at some of the red zones, such as the state of independence, they have a score of 30, which really means that they have to pay attention in the way they're dealing with this category, and we're going to explain what this category is.
So, Florence, as I look at this slide, there's really 2 takeaways that I think I get out of this. First of all, a company doesn't have to be at 100 to be successful. It doesn't have to be at 100 to be able to sell. It's just an indicator that on a scale of 1 to 100, here's where you have opportunities to improve. And so the more that you improve, the more likely you're going to have value growth in your business for whatever reason that you might be trying to drive towards that. that you're also going to be more, if you are looking to sell at some point in the future, you're going to be more likely to be sellable the closer to 100 that you get. And so that's the first point. And the second point is that the closer to 100, if you're looking to sell at some point in the future, the closer you will be to addressing the value gap. And what do I mean by value gap? There's typically a valuation gap that we see, and it's noted in the industry, between buyers and sellers. And sometimes it's going to be very small, sometimes it can be very large. And if a company is scoring in the 20 range, it's probably going to be very large. If it's scoring in the 80 range, it should be a lot closer, because the idea is that people are going to be looking at this in the same way. And what we're trying to do with the sellability score is get people closer to looking at your business, how somebody might look at it from the outside. So therefore, when you get to negotiating between that valuation gap, you're already starting from a closer point. Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense. It's all about reducing risk.
And we also might mention on our last slide at the end of the presentation, we have a note for a link to the sellability score. So stay tuned for that, and we'll come back to you to give you that information, how you can take the test if you're interested.
Thank you.
So obviously, when people think about valuation, one of the first things that I'm sure most C-level people that are listening think about are financial performance. And so that's key to any particular company. So what do we think about when we're talking about enterprise value relative to financial performance? So first of all, we think about top-line revenue. And when we think about top-line revenue, we're not just thinking about growth for the sake of growth. We're thinking about growth that is attractive and growth that is sustainable. And why that is important is that creates more health in your business. So whether you're planning to keep the business for years to come or sell in the future, and having a revenue that actually is the right type of revenue that you know that can be there not only today but tomorrow and in the future, is going to help you make better planning for your decisions in your own business as you grow and develop, or as you look to hand it off to an investor or to an acquirer. They're going to want to see those things. The next thing, obviously, is bottom line growth. And when we think about bottom line growth, is what are your margins? You know, take an effort to look at. I know when I was running a business group, we would take efforts to look at what are our key drivers in terms of the product lines that actually would be driving the majority of the margin in the business. And rather than look at the outliners, we focus on those and say, what can we either do on the price side, what can we do on the cost side to be able to get a point, 2 points of margin and have that drive that through the rest of the organization. Is our EBITDA a healthy percentage? Maybe we're having a good margin, but we're spending too much in organizational overhead. So how do we address that? We have to make sure that we have healthy. Even at the end of the day, we have to have a healthy bottom line to be able to reinvest in the business to grow it. Or if it's a family business or an owner who wants to be around for a while, maybe you want to take some money out to go play, but you can't do that unless you have a healthy EBITDA that you're working with that is combined with a nice cash flow. And the cash flow really is key. We have seen profitable businesses that have a nice bottom line. You look at the P&L, it looks good, they got decent balance sheets, and then you look at the P&L, they're profitable, they have generated EBITDA, so you think this is a great business, and then you get inside and you realize that they might have a healthy EBITDA, but they're not creating cash flow. So that's really important to be looking at that and maybe working that with either your CFO or your financial advisor, because cash really generates the health of the business and sustainability of the business as you go forward.
Absolutely. And so if you're looking at it from, you want to tell your business, the way that a buyer is going to look at it is that the bigger you get, the more interesting you are. So, making sure that you look at all those financial performance and keep them sustainable over time is really important. The other thing that is important is we all do our own financing from within. When somebody is going to come from the outside and take a look at your books, you are going to be under a lot of scrutiny. And so we would suggest that you actually have your financials audited on a regular basis, and specifically right before you decide to put your business for sale, to make sure that your numbers are correct and that they are defendable. This is something that I cannot stress enough with regard to financial performance.
So now we speak about growth opportunities, so creating value growth. through ways of growing your business. So we mentioned before, there's organic ways and there's inorganic ways of being able to do that. It's true though, the scalability drives value. So when we think about it organically, we want to think about how can we grow that business profitably. We'll be talking in the later slides about the type of revenue that you want to bring in. We want to think about, it's on organic growth. Can we operate in other segments? Can we go into other markets? Go into other geographies? Things that we can do incrementally to be able to grow that can actually bring in more profit as we go forward. Or inorganically, can we pick up some acquisitions so we can create some cross-selling opportunities, picking products that will maybe synergize with other product offerings that we have, or help us take costs out in ways that would be helpful to the bottom line. And I see even small businesses, we've also seen even small businesses be able to make small pickups. A $10 million business can make an acquisition just as easily as a $100 million, but you just have to select your targets a little more carefully relative to the size of your business.
Right. And so when you're looking at growth opportunity, it's one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at selling is when you are building your business, you're looking at it because you're actively in it. When you are deciding to sell, this is the end of the line for you unless you decide to stay on board with whoever is going to buy your business. But at the end of the day, it's really the end for you and the beginning for the buyer who's buying your business. So what you've done in the past counts. However, the opportunity that you have created for growth will add tremendous value to your business. And, they are not just buying your business as it is today, but they're buying your future stream of profit. And that's going to help them define as part of the mix the value that they think that your business is valued at.
Yeah, and before we move on, Florence, I can think of a couple of examples. In the inorganic growth, I have a friend who started in medtech business about 20 years ago. He started by buying a small company, and then he created some organic growth with that, and then he bought another small company. And so he probably 15 years ago, he had about $5 million in revenue and $1 million of EBITDA. Now he has about $25 million of revenue and $8 million of EBITDA, and more than half the growth actually was generated inorganically through making acquisitions, combined with some good positive organic growth after making those acquisitions. And so now he's been in the perfect position to be able to look to sell his business for the future or be as flexible as he wants in his lifestyle. That's a nice example of a small business taking advantage of inorganic opportunity. Organically, when I was at Tyco running OEM business group, we would look at customers as opportunities. How can we grow profitably, not only just in terms of segments or markets, but actually with customers? As being an OEM supplier, I know some companies that listen may be OEM suppliers, so think about how can I get more out of this this customer that I have, and that kind of can apply across segments as well. Or if I'm a med tech company, how do I create more growth and more opportunity? So obviously, if you're taking a product and going to different segments, so like we talked about, or maybe even looking at new claims for your product. A lot of times we have to make decisions when we launch a product about the claims that we have, so it limits the marketing capability. But over time, you can go back and maybe add to those claims and be able to add to growth potential as we go forward.
Sure. So the third driver is what we call the state of independence, or as my mother would call it, do not put all your eggs in one basket. And what it is that we have a tendency to create dependencies within our business, which actually devaluate what we do. So 4 of them are fairly obvious. The first one is customer concentration, and I will take an example of a company that we have been working with who came to us wanting to sell. Good company, in business for quite some time, wonderful people, great products. Up until now, their financials totally pan out. However, in digging a little bit deeper, come to find out in their customer concentration, there's one customer who holds 60% of their business. And what happened is that that customer actually went away after that company lost a bid. So you can imagine what it does to the picture, with regards to your value. When you lose 60% of your sales, it is very hard to fill that gap over time when you have one customer that holds that much business within your enterprise. So always try to diversify your customer base. It's safer and allows you to grow better. The other thing is the diversity of talent. in small companies, it is not unusual. When you start from scratch, you have people who come on board right at the beginning, and they help you grow the company. And they are with you for 5, 10 years, 15 years. And when they decide to leave, what are you going to do if you do not have diversity of talent to help you run the company, even though that person has gone away? So building talent and make sure that it's diversified is very important. And it adds value to your business when a company is looking at it from the outside in. They want to make sure that that talent is there and it's going to help run the company. Availability of suppliers. This is one that I think a lot of you are very familiar with. We constantly hear about suppliers that are shutting down, their doors, or they're selling, or, whatever it may be. They just change their business, they move a line out, whatever it may be. And this is the one supplier you are relying on to build your product. And it can hold the entire line for you. And therefore, if they don't deliver to you, you don't deliver to your customers. So having the ability to have more than one supplier allows you to also debate price, get better contracts, and it's a lot safer. On the channel side, which is one sometimes we don't really think about, same thing. If you're depending on one channel and one distributor within that channel or one region, that actually could limit your growth. If I take an example of, you're a U.S.-based business and you want to go and grow in another geography. You do not have the sales force. You're unable to do it by yourself. You're going to look at hiring a distributor. That distributor may require exclusivity. Until you sign the contract and you think that you're just fine, you even come up with a plan for growth for them and a number of units that they have to sell on a yearly basis. However, if that distributor does not actually provide you the results that you want, or they're slower, or whatever it may be, and you would want to go there by yourself, you're going to be very limited in your ability to grow that channel.
And we made a note here about if somebody's thinking about selling in the future their business, it's helpful to reduce your dependencies to avoid the discounting of your business. And the reason we say that is if you think about the types of buyers that are out there, they can be individual investors, so somebody who's done really well on their own. Most likely they're going to be somebody who's in a private equity firm, or it could be a strategic exit to a large multinational player. If it's a large multinational player, you're hoping that there's a strategic gap they have that you fill that can give you a better opportunity to add value. If it turns out to be a private equity company, you're really in the hands of their financial measurements, their scorecards, the metrics that they have, and they look at businesses. They have their formulas that they go at, and this is one of the key ones that they look at along with the financial performance. And what they do is they'll build up your company value, and you're feeling good about it when they go through seeing it your way relative to your revenue and your EBITDA and that sort of thing. And then they try to build it back down, break you down a little bit on discounting your business for what they call risk factors. These are key areas of risk factors that you want to pay attention to, especially if your business could end up being looking at by private equity or even other smaller mid-sized companies, and it's not going to have a strategic exit. It's very, very important for your future if you're considering in that line. So now we're going to talk about cash. Everybody loves cash. In this case, it's CASH. And the reason why we're talking about cash and the impact of value for your enterprise is these are key things that we know of. But in terms of proactively thinking about your enterprise value and where you're taking your business, these need to be managed on a day-to-day basis and a part of your business planning cycle, and not be reactive. And we've seen many companies that actually have been more reactive about this. And it's really a tough situation, especially if you get into a selling situation where this hasn't been managed well, and we're going through a diligence process, and we see things on the shelf that you maybe back in the corner there's a whole bunch of cubicles and chairs from 20 years ago, and we find out it's still on the assets on hand. It would be much better for somebody, whether they're going to keep in their business for 10 years or going to sell next year, just to go ahead and sell that stuff and really just have efficiency relative to the cash, the capitalization costs, your assets on hand, your simple inventory, and your healthy AR and AP. On capitalization costs, of course, you're going to have various levels of capitalization depending upon the type of business you're in. Service business is going to have a lot less. Manufacturing is going to have a lot more. And it's okay to have capitalization costs, what you need to do is show that you're proactively managing it. It should really for the health of your business on your own and running your business, because if you're able to do that in a proactive way, you're going to become more efficient over time, and you're probably going to increase your EBITDA, and you're going to have to give yourself that flexibility you're looking for. And of course, if you're looking to sell at some point, a new buyer coming in will appreciate the fact that you've done that, versus being kind of lost at where you are, what needs to be fixed, and what needs to be invested in. Regarding inventory, it's the same type of thing. Many times companies iterate on product, they launch new ones, and on their shelf they still have inventory from 5 years ago's previous iterations, and obviously that's not going to be sellable. And it's just better for the business to find out a way to, it's nice, I see a lot of medtech companies give things away, give to Africa, give to emerging markets, if it's good product, if it's not really usable and sellable in your current markets because of next generation product, or sell it offhand, or whatever it might be, or even just dispose of it. It's better to really have a healthy sellable inventory that's turning on a regular basis, just for the efficiency of your own business, and that'll help you, if you're managing it correctly, help you to increase your enterprise value over time. And then on the AR and AP, it really is helpful for you to work with your financial people to figure out, how do I manage my cash flow the best way possible. And the more stable you are, the more you are demonstrating that you're profitable, that you're growing, that you're a good partner, the more your vendors will work with you in terms of your payments and that sort of thing, because they know they can trust you. So if they might be willing to negotiate terms better for you, knowing that you're going to be able to pay at 60 days instead of 30, but they know they can count on it. But you want to have those agreements. You don't want to just pay late. You want to actually have agreements around the whole relationship with that. And the stronger you are with your business and your enterprise value, the better you can do that. And the same thing on your receivables with your customers. The healthier you are as a business and you're partnering with your customers, you can negotiate with them a little more effectively to be able to make sure you're receiving the cash when you need it for running your business effectively.
And so if you're looking at it from a buyer perspective, that would be looking at your business. Why is cash so important? Because at the end of the day, when you sell your business, the buyer is going to give you one check, and that's what you're going to get away with, as far as selling your business. But from their perspective, they actually are writing two checks. The one that they're writing for you, for the part of your business, but then they're also thinking of what it's going to take to run your business in the future and do it successfully. And cash becomes a really big part of the decision and how they write those checks. The more cash is needed to run your company and make it grow, the less attractive you will be.
We talked previously about growing, but growing in the right way. So what is the type of revenue that adds value? And we've really seen this in some of the deals that we've been working on over the years. Companies that with higher capital equipment costs, they can be sold. However, they do have a little more risk to them because of the fact that there's not a recurring revenue stream. So the quicker those kind of companies can figure out how to get recurring revenue, the better, the healthier they can become relative to managing their own business, relative to making sure they have an ongoing stream. So if there's an investment cycle that goes down or markets go down, like things happened in 2008, they still have a recurring stream of revenue from their disposables, their consumables, their software models. So we look at recurring revenue and the types that really tend to add value for your business. We think about consumables, and they can be just the disposables that you might have, or they can just be maybe the razor blade model, as far as where you're providing something in terms of a piece of equipment. It might be some monitoring equipment, and you have a sensor that goes with it, whatever it might be, and that you're able to generate that consumable revenue that takes place. That really adds value to your business, because you know with some confidence on an ongoing basis you're going to be able to get that recurring revenue. Also, subscription platforms, those have really been taken off. It's something that in medtech historically this industry has not been so great about. Even when I was working at Covidien and working with Philips and GE and those companies, terrible at getting out the software service models, the subscription models. They've gotten much better at it in the last 10 years, and I think small companies coming out in the digital health space are looking at that from the start, which is really good and very healthy for the business. Wherever you can add that recurring revenue in terms of a software platform, it's great, because your cost of goods is very minimal. It's just really that point, it's the cost of customer acquisition, and if you can do that efficiently, you've really got an effective platform for recurring revenue that's healthy for your business. And then the best type of recurring revenue is the one that you've got a nice contract for, so the customer is obligated into the future to buy your product. That's something that you can count on, something you can bake on, and then also obviously if someone comes in to look at your business, they can count on that as well.
Absolutely. And so we rank them 1, 2, 3 in order of importance, exactly for the reason that Dave mentioned. The higher proportion of recurring revenue that you have, the higher the valuation of your business will be. Keep in mind, though, that as we talked about in the state of independence, that a mix is very healthy. You just want to put more emphasis on what will give you more revenues over time to bring more valuation to your business. So controls is the 6th key driver to increasing the value of your enterprise, and it's really all about using what you have for success. So if you have a product that is a commodity product, that is a product that actually will not allow you to have market differentiation, which means that more often than not, you don't control the pricing. Your customers will, just because you're a commodity product. And it's no longer on features, it's just purely on pricing. And, it reduces your margin greatly, and you cannot really reinvest in sales and marketing, which then will yield more profits, for that product. So the question is, how do you take the commodity product, if you have one of those, and bring it to what we call the differentiated product? I'm going to take an example for you in the medical device industry. Surgical instruments would be a good example. A lot of companies have come up with surgical instruments in different areas of surgery, whether it's ophthalmic, whether it's orthopedic, whatever it may be. And more as hospitals have been battling issues with cost and profitability, it's been really important for companies to keep a differentiator. But when again, the hospital is looking at cost and cost only, how do you actually make a difference? One of the solutions that some companies came up with, which was a great differentiator, is to actually take some of their products and bundle them into a kit and sell them as a unit. That created a key differentiator from a commodity product. And what it allowed them to do was to actually drive the difference in the marketplace, and that allowed them to have actually a pricing that they could drive. They controlled their margins a lot more. They ended up with contracts as a result of bringing a product from commodity to differentiating to a differentiated product, and it allowed them to actually have better margin, reinvest in their business so that they could create the next generation of products.
And for the lawyers listening right now, we actually didn't mean the word bundle in terms of the contracting standpoint. We just mean the word combining the products put into a kit for purposes of customer satisfaction.
Absolutely, very true. So speaking of customer satisfaction, this is actually a huge part of your value growth. Customers are your lifeline, and if you don't have customers, you're going to be hard-pressed to be a profitable business. So it is something that, the more satisfied your customers are with you, the more profitable they become for you. And one way to really gauge that is to really understand what your customers are saying about you. And even if you're not using a system to evaluate how your customers are looking at you, do a survey. Try to really understand, would they recommend you to somebody else? How do they feel about you? Is it about you? Is it about your product? Is it about your salesperson? What makes the difference? Is it quality? What is the benchmark? What are they looking at when they're talking about you as a company and you as a product? And more importantly is, they say a lot of things, but aside of all the things that you can get in the survey, the truth is, how many of them will actually buy over and over and over again? And those customers that buy from you on a recurring basis are customers that will help grow your company in the future.
And if you're thinking about selling at some point in the future, as part of the diligence process, very key is the customer satisfaction of an organization. Not only do they want to talk to key customers, but they also want to just know generally how your customer is satisfied. And they want to know more beyond just, yeah, I'm telling you, as my business, my customers are happy with me. They like to see established benchmarks of customer satisfaction. So having that done on a regular basis will help you to increase your own enterprise value because you can have more happy customers, which will create more profitable customers, but you'll also help yourself in the future for your potential sale if you're looking to do that.
Absolutely. And when you query customers, they really do feel that you care about them and what they have to say, that creates a better relationship over time.
And then the next opportunity for enterprise value is leadership decentralization, which means creating efficiencies in your business. It really, you know, if you think about your business, if you're running a business as a CEO or an owner, really the best day in your business is the day that you could be gone and everything happens according to your plan. And those are great days in the life of a business owner, regardless of your size. So what you want to do is think proactively about how you get there from here. Because a lot of owners are very active in their business, as they should be. And over time, what you want to do is make that activity into something that's proactive to be able to have your business run itself. And that'll help you, whether you want to sell or not, whether you just want to run your business for a long time. That'll give you the more flexibility to run it the way you want to, or you can think about adding other businesses personally or to your business. Or if you're thinking about selling, it'll give you the opportunity to not be discounted in that process of selling. Because what happens when somebody comes in to evaluate your business and they see that you're key to running it, well, that feels good. And in some cases, it's actually not healthy for the business. And they're thinking about, okay, so what happens if you get hit by a truck or something along those lines? The institutional knowledge is lost and the business can't run. So what they love to see is key stakeholders across your organization, and that you really work with those stakeholders to establish processes. And there's an investment in those processes by the stakeholders. And then all that, once you've done that, you communicate those processes to your employees, and employees actually have a say in that, and they can improve it continuously as you go forward. And then how you test if that really works is take a vacation and see what happens. And hopefully you're not getting too many phone calls at 2 a.m. And then measure that, repeat it, and as part of that process, be sure you're developing a key leadership team as you go forward, that you can rely upon, that the people that can really, as key stakeholders, be able to run the organization.
Very true. So at the end of the day, if you want to sell, you want to be able to take the money and run, and I just love that. And the idea is that the business should be able to run without you. So keep that in mind as you move forward. So now we go on to the forgotten ones, and we're trying to make sure that we leave enough time for questions, because we can see that a lot of questions are coming in during the webinar. We're going to talk about the forgotten one. So item 1 through 8 are things that you can actually measure, and we can see the progress that you are making as you are addressing each and every one of those key factors. The forgotten ones is more of a checklist, and as we're really working in a highly regulated and very unique industry as med device, med tech, life science, it's really important to have those categories really taken care of.
Yeah, for example, intellectual property, there is, IP can really be a double-edged sword, and so it's really important proactively to look at your business in terms of, as a starting point, do I have a freedom to operate? Because if I don't have the freedom to operate, that could be a challenge. So maybe you're operating right now in the U.S., but you don't know if you have enough freedom to operate in Europe or Asia, somewhere in Japan, China, wherever you might want to expand. It's important to figure that out, because that's key to your future growth and being able to sell your products. Of course, if you can add a patent to that, add trademarks to that, then you'll be able to add additional value to your business by being able to actually have IP that really is value to the fact that you'll be able to market those products into the future because of the protection of those patents. And an additional bonus is if you've been able to put a picket fence around, so to speak, around your product through the patents that you've obtained, so which makes it harder for other companies to compete with what you're trying to achieve. So intellectual property can be patents, it can be trademarks, it can be proprietary algorithms and trade secrets. And some of these things you actually don't want to patent. For example, software companies don't like to publish, and by patenting their proprietary algorithms, you have to publish them. It's just better to leave it as a proprietary algorithm and actually have more value that way, as long as you can find some way to be able to patent the use of the product that comes with that algorithm. That's usually helpful to be able to do. Adding to IP as far as the categories is regulatory?
Regulatory, that is very important. Without CE mark or FDA or any other country approval, if you're in the medical device space, you're going to have a hard time going to market. But even if you do have one of them, let's say you're a company based in Europe and you have CE mark, don't stop just in Europe. Chances are you will grow into other markets. Get at least another approval, regulatory approval. And most companies, when they can show to potential customers, doctors, hospitals, the fact that they actually have regulatory approval in more than one location, adds tremendous value to the proposition of your business and of your product. Important also to understand is to, not just look at the CE mark, the FDA. A lot of other countries have regulatory approvals. And another thing to keep in mind is registrations, which are part of the regulatory environment. Those are things that are very often overlooked. And if they're not, sometimes you end up having a dependency with regards to the registration. If I give you an example, you are a company that is based in Europe, and you would like to actually sell in a country that's doing business in Asia. And so you find a distributor who will tell you that it's a complicated system and they should register your product and be your partner in building that channel for you. Beware that in some countries, if you let a third party do the registration on your behalf, they actually will own it. So you will lose the right to actually, in the long term, take your product to that country unless you go through that specific distributor because they hold the registration. They might be willing to sell it back to you, or they actually ask you for a royalty every time that one of your products crosses the border. That is something to remember and to keep in mind.
And then you also obviously want to look at standards. I think most of you running business understand standards, but it's important to be proactive about it. And it's surprising when we go through diligence processes how often companies have not been as diligent about documenting what they've actually done. So most companies are pretty good about maintaining those standards, but not always so great about the documentation process. And that's critical to the success and health of your business. Running your business, because as your new employees come in, you want them to understand it, where it is, where it is, so they can be proactive in helping you manage the business. And then also for the saleability of the business, you have to be able to have that documented. And going back and trying to do it later on is a very challenging thing to be able to do.
Also important is clinical validation and key opinion leaders, especially if you are an emerging technology. You are building a great product, something that will actually make a change in the life of the patient or will provide a solution to the clinician. Being able to have a proof point that is done at the hospital or the clinic is something that will be of primary importance to be able to sell your product. You may think that what you have is a great invention and a great solution to a problem. Until you put it into the hands of a clinician, you actually will be hard-pressed to successfully sell at a much higher rate than you would otherwise. KOL, very important. Dave mentioned this as part of an example earlier, I believe, with regards to KOLs. If you have KOLs, this is something that actually vouches, third-party vouching for your product you're offering and telling their peers that this is a great product to actually use is something that will help you tremendously. Marketing, it's part of your marketing mix and one not to be overlooked. KOLs write papers, they travel, they do speeches, they will spread the word for you.
And then reimbursements. 10, 20 years ago, reimbursements weren't such a big deal. You could just get started selling something that made sense, that it was a better mousetrap, it added some value in some way, you could sell it. In today's market, it's all about economic outcomes, whether you're selling into Europe and some of the social systems over there, government-run systems, or in the U.S. with the large payer systems now. It's important to be able to show the economic outcome and reimbursements, whether you get a code or whether you're part of a bundle package for a type of procedure. It's important for you to understand it and understand the pathway for it. You can run your own business, and especially explain if you have investors coming in or you're looking to sell your business, because they'll definitely want to understand it. When you're selling your business, these topics that we just talked about on this items 9, these may add value for you, but the key point to understand, if these ones are not managed proactively, they could be showstoppers for selling your business, any one of these. So in summary, enterprise value is manageable. And we would like to encourage all of you that are listening to think about how you can be proactive going forward. I'm sure many of you are in different ways. And look at it from a holistic view as far as the whole areas of your company and what am I paying attention to, what am I missing. And you don't have to address everything in one day. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all these bullets, so we can't leave a couple of minutes for questions. But just think about, you know, if I'm going to continue running my business for a few years, how can I give myself the flexibility to play a little more? And play a little more could be playing golf, or could be investing in another business or buying other businesses. And if you're thinking about selling, how do I get to this point where I can sell for maximum value when I'm ready?
Absolutely. And so all of those things you may either be doing at this time, or you may be tackling one of the many key drivers that we talked about. Take them one at a time. Try to balance them. It's a puzzle. All those pieces work together to help you with the value growth of your business. Be patient. It takes time. We usually said that if you are doing all of this in order to sell your business, it will take you a year to shore up your business and make sure that all of the items that we covered has actually been addressed and that you've actually made the changes for the maximum potential value of your business. So patience is key, one at a time. You know, at the end of the day, when it comes to selling your business, it also is about value, but it's also about timing. So with that said, Joe, I don't know if you would like to...
Well, first of all, before we turn it over to Joe, just want to mention that if we don't get time to questions today, you can email us. Our contact information is here. And we also are out there. We're going to be at FIME in Florida next week. If you don't know what FIME is, you won't be there, so don't worry about it. But then we also will be at AdvaMed in September. We'll be at MPO in October, Medica in November, MDM in February. And most importantly, next April 3 to 5, we're going to be with Joe in the Meadowlands for the launch of the next 10X and this next iteration of that. Joe does amazing things with conferences. If you haven't been to one of his, you definitely need to attend.
Absolutely.
With that, Joe, we'll turn it over to you.
Well, thanks for that plug, and you guys did a great job, and I know this because no one has left. That never happens.
That's great.
So there was really solid information in there. And in fact, there are very few questions, again, because I think you were so thorough. Al asks, what is considered a healthy EBITDA percentage in the industry?
Yeah, it can vary by the type of product you have, but I think a good target to have is 20%. If you're in the 20% plus or minus range, you have a very healthy business.
Randy asks, how important is an audit? Will the acquirer just do their own audit in spite of existing audited financials?
Yeah, that comes down to the confidence that the acquirer has in general. If everything else is looking pretty good, and that's the only thing that they are concerned about, typically, if they have a lot of confidence, the audit becomes less important. If they have a lot of questions, the audit becomes more important.
Okay. I have shared the link to this presentation with the entire audience, and I also put in an extra graphic about the salability score test. I took it, and it was really excellent. Is that proprietary to you?
It's something that's proprietary for us to utilize in the medical industry, yes.
Yeah, it was really thorough. A little disappointed in my score, but folks like you can help. Al asked...
And yes.
Go ahead.
And that's the key thing is there can be good businesses in the 20s, but the key is it shows you opportunities where you can improve. Right?
Absolutely. It's just a place to start when you get your score. It gives you a better understanding of where you need to make the improvements.
We'll conclude with Al's question because we're at the top of the hour. He asks, is it worth getting a quality of earnings audit?
That can be expensive. So if you're serious about valuation and looking to sell, it can be worthwhile, but only at the stage that you're very serious about it.
I thank everyone for joining us. Dave and Florence, that was a fantastic presentation. I will be spooling it up and putting the replay on YouTube, and of course the slides are available at the link I have provided. On behalf of the Medical Devices Group, I thank you all. Make it a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Joe.